All right, we're live. So I'm here with Ian and Jesse, and I want to start out with a little bit of background on both of you. So why don't we start out with Ian? Um,
Yeah.
Tell us where you grew up, um,
Okay.
where
My
you are
name's Ian.
now, kind of your story.
Yeah, yeah. So my name's Ian Flanigan. I'm 29 years old. Um, I was I'm born and raised in Michigan. I spent the first 3 years of my life living in Livonia, but shortly after that, I moved to Canton. Um, for the first 10 years of my life, I was very healthy. Kind of just your average 10-year old kid. I played sports. I played soccer. I did some martial arts. I did gymnastics. I was very active. I rode my bike every day. Um, and then when I was 10 years old, it was September 25th, 2005. I had this very rare autoimmune event called ADEM, which stands for acute disseminated encephalomyelitis. And it was they don't know for sure, but they think it might have been triggered by an autoimmune response to an ear infection,
Oh,
but they're not entirely sure. But within a matter of an hour, hour and a half after waking up, um, I literally lost control of every muscle from my eyes to my toes. The lesions were on my brainstem and also affected my spinal cord as well. So widespread damage. Um, so for the last now it'll be almost 20 years, I've been doing physical therapy, occupational therapy, multiple days a week. I've made lots of improvements over that time, and I'm still not fully independent yet. I'm still not, back to where I was before this happened, but I'm definitely like way, way better than I was when this happened, and I'm still continuing to make improvements. Um, for after I first got injured, um, I would say for close to 2.5 years, I missed school, and so I had to be homeschooled and stuff, and so academically it was very difficult to play catch up, but
yeah.
eventually, I've really developed a love for reading, a love for writing, and a love for math, and so um, over the course of time, I ended up going to Lawrence Tech to get my degree in mechanical engineering, which took me a long time to do, but I ended up doing that. Um, Met Jesse in high school, you know, and we became good friends. And maybe I'll save that part for a little later.
Okay.
But yeah, that's about me. I don't know if I should talk about it, but I was going to talk about some of the academic stuff.
Yeah, go ahead. For sure.
Prior to having ADEM, I was very severely dyslexic,
Okay.
and that actually um, I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was 6 years old, and it was like really severe. I did literally everything backwards, and just I couldn't read to save my life. And I'll tell you a real quick story. When I was about 7.5, we found this very specialized teacher who all she did was dyslexia, and her name was Louise, and she was situated in Farmington Hills, Michigan. I don't know if she's still there or not, but that's where she was at the time. And she had a very interesting method that utilized Braille, and it actually completely undid my dyslexia. It fixed it completely. But the only reason I mention this is because for the longest time I could not read or write to save my life. And if it wasn't for what she did, I wouldn't be the author, that I am now, because now my job relies on, writing and stuff. So I'm kind of like, I went from not being able to write and missing a lot of school and stuff from, what happened with me to now I'm literally writing and going to schools to teach kids about this stuff. So It's yeah, how the tables have turned, I
It's
feel.
kind of cool to hear that because I feel that there's a lot of stories of people that have a difficulty that as your example with dyslexia, that you actually turn that into like a strength, and that's like your
Right.
thing now, right? And now you're out there, and
Yeah,
that's your job now, and like
right.
having to struggle through that and learn and find somebody that really helped you, like now you want to go out and help other people, and it's like now that's like your strength, like that's what you
Right.
do. That's
That's
so
so
cool.
much, and I mean, that's so much of what Jesse and I are doing. I mean, together really is like, I mean, we're taking, you know, and I hate to sound cliche, but we're turning tragedies into triumphs, I mean,
Yeah,
that's really our goal with everything that we've been doing, is take the things that we've struggled with, and we know that, there are other people and especially kids are struggling with these things, and hopefully, give them some hope and give them some direction, and we made it to where we're at. We didn't have anyone that did that for us, and I
yep,
can only imagine, how much of an impact that might have on kids if they had, what we're doing now, you know what I mean?
yeah, it's super cool. Yeah,
So,
super cool. So Jesse, why don't you tell us kind of tell us your story, um growing up and how you got to where you are today.
Alright, yeah, like Ian, I was born in Westland, but I moved to Camden when I was very young, and I grew up here, going to like a Plymouth Camden community schools, and so I was just like any other kid until I was 16. I started getting like really bad headaches, and I kept going like back and forth to the doctor, and they couldn't get to the bottom of it. And one day I just woke up, or well, I didn't wake up, and my mom found me, and I was unresponsive, and she called 911, and they rushed me to U of M for brain surgery. I had like two brain surgeries actually, because they didn't clear it all out of my brain the first time. And then it affected my spinal cord too. And obviously it affected my voice. So that's why I'm talking kind of funny. That's why it's really funny. Little kids are always wondering, like, why are you talking funny and stuff? And um, but yeah, so I've just been recovering ever since, and it's been December 8th will be 14 years.
mhm.
And you so your what caused that was you said you had an abscess on your brain, correct? And then it bursts.
Yeah,
So
it
is an
started.
abscess so I'm not super familiar with an abscess, but I know like you said they didn't get it all out. Is it kind of like a cyst where you really have to get the entire thing out of there, or will it come back? Do you know exactly if it's a similar situation?
I don't know if it
Okay.
would come back, but to be honest, I'm not
That's fine.
completely
I was
sure.
just curious because you said they didn't get it all, so I was like, "Huh." I wonder if it's one of those situations where if you don't get 100% of it, if it starts to fill back up, and then you can have, more issues with it down the road.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would assume because I had 2 brain surgeries, so maybe they didn't get it all the first time.
Do you know if they got it all the second time?
I think so.
Okay.
So are you still living in Canton?
Yeah, I still live with my parents in Canton.
Hmm.
All right. So why don't you guys tell me about how you guys came up with this? Hey, let's write a book.
Yeah, so I want to build off something Jesse said because
Sure.
like what you said is it segues so well into like how we develop this book. Little kids are constantly asking us questions.
Yep.
Like, like we'll be out, him and I, we hang out all the time. We go out, to restaurants and go out to the mall and like we just go out to movies and stuff. But both of us have had these experiences where, we'll be out in public and we'll just be, minding our own business. And of course, God bless them, little kids will come up to us and be like, "Why are you using a wheelchair?
Yeah.
Why does your voice sound funny?" Or, like, and they ask us these kind of questions, and the parents are mortified, and so but so we try to give them an age appropriate answer,
Yep.
but it dawned on us that kids aren't learning about this in school. They're not learning about disability in school, and parents didn't learn about it either, so they don't know what to tell their kids. So parents aren't really teaching them, and the schools aren't really teaching them, and so they're just kind of growing up, and the only education they get about it is like, people like Jesse and I that they meet at the grocery store once in a while, or maybe, they have a grandparent that's in a wheelchair or something. And
Yep.
I can't tell you how many times like, you know, a parent will try to explain to the kid, they're like grandma, they use a wheelchair. Like, no,
Uh-huh.
no, no, like, no, 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 no. Like, so like the funny thing is it's just like that's really kind of what helped us come up with the idea for Kevin Can is it's just not like, kids are curious and nobody's really answering their questions. They don't have an there nobody's really educating them about this.
Yep.
You know, Instead of us, belly aching about our situation, why don't we do something productive and, you know, create this resource, that parents and teachers can use to kind of help teach kids, more about disability related issues.
Yeah, it's a really good it's a good way to look at it, when you have little kids come up to you and like you said, you're at the mall. Um,
Hmm.
it's a great opportunity to educate kids, right?
Hmm.
Because kids don't know what they haven't experienced or haven't been taught. So you guys have a great opportunity to kind of share some information with them.
Hmm.
And you guys are probably pretty good at it now, right? I mean,
We've had to do it a lot.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
we've
It,
had
it feels
a
like
lot
that.
of
It feels like
practice.
Karate Kid, where it's like we are getting the training, the whole time. It's like you felt like you're just waxing the car, just like painting the fence, but really it was your preparation,
Yep.
for for you to succeed.
So why don't you tell me about Kevin Can?
Hmm. All right. So obviously our book is called Kevin Can.
Yep.
And it's about a 10-year-old boy named Kevin, and he uses a wheelchair, and also his best friend Katie, who does not use a wheelchair. And together they show all the fun things that Kevin can do. And so, the story largely takes place kind of like throughout their day, like kind of like I don't know if you call it like a typical day, but
Sure.
it starts out, at school. The teacher introduces Kevin, to the class. And, she's like, "Hey, this is Kevin. He uses a wheelchair, but don't be afraid to ask him to play with you, right?" And so this one girl asks, to play with Kevin, and her name's Katie. And then the book follows Kevin and Katie, throughout their day as they play together. And so, Katie will ask a question, can Kevin use the swing? And it's like, yes, Kevin can swing with you if there's an adaptive swing, right? Or can
Yep.
Kevin ride a bike? Yes, Kevin can ride an adaptive bike, right? Or can Kevin come over to my house and play? Yes, he can if you have a portable ramp, right? And so like, the book kind of just goes throughout all these different things that Kevin can do, and as long as like, there's obviously as long as there are things that are adaptive, right? He can do all the same things you can do. So the message is that, he does all the same things you do, but he does them differently, and so, we want to encourage kids that have disabilities that there's a lot of fun things that they can do. And we want to encourage kids that don't have disabilities to befriend kids that do, because they can have just as much fun as they can be just as much fun as anyone else. You know. And so that's
So
really
you've got one book right
point.
now.
Yep.
What's the future plan? Do you guys have more
Well,
ideas that
tell them
you
what
guys
you've
are
been
looking at?
doing, Jess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been working on our second book. It's gonna be about Kevin's gonna get a service dog, and that's inspired by I have a service dog right now. Her name's Trooper. She's actually sleeping right there
Mhm.
next to me.
Mhm.
So it sounds to me that you guys are going to build on the idea of continuing like the Kevin story, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so you guys
We
are going to stay
actually
with that
have
theme. Yeah.
So we actually have like 5 stories pretty much written.
Okay.
But we only have this one illustrated and published. But we have several more on the way. Um, as Jesse alluded to, our next one is about Kevin's service dog. Her name's gonna be Cookie. Cookie, the service dog. And then our third book is going to feature more of Kevin's friends, and it's going to be a talent show. And it's gonna each of his friends is gonna have a different type of disability, and there's gonna be a different talent that correlates with it. And then the fourth book is gonna focus on careers and the type of careers that Kevin can do. And so, like we have a whole series kind of planned out. At this point, it's just kind of a matter of logistics, just kind of illustrating it and getting the copyright and
Oh
all
yeah.
that good business.
Tell me about the illustrations then. So I didn't even think of that.
So
You guys,
that's Jesse's
Jesse, you
side of
do
things.
that? That's
Oh,
all you?
I write. That's Jesse does illustrations. I write.
Um, well, growing up, I was really artistic, but after my injury, I couldn't really draw anymore. I couldn't it affected my writing, so I couldn't write, but I took classes in high school before my injury with Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, and so I went continued that after my injury. With at WCC I took graphic design classes, and actually I took a break, but I'm going back to school because MRS is gonna help by paying for me to go back to school.
Yeah. They saw what Jesse did with his illustrating of the book, and they were so impressed by it that they're going to pay for the rest of his college.
That's pretty sweet. MRS is a good organization.
Yeah.
We've worked with them on some projects in the past.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So when you guys aren't writing and illustrating, What do you guys like to do, for
Yeah.
fun? What do you guys do?
Yeah, we like to hang out like in downtown Plymouth. I don't
Okay.
know if you've been down there before, but
Yeah, it's
like
nice
that.
downtown
Yeah,
Plymouth. Yep.
downtown Plymouth, Depot Town. Um, we like to hang out in those areas a lot, and we go to the different restaurants and bars and just kind of hang out. We like to try new food, new drinks, and talk. And we go to see movies. Um, we like we like we like going to movie theaters or in malls because it all in one. So like that way
Yep.
we can like eat in the mall, we can shop, and then we go to the movie theater, and we don't have to worry about someone driving us, from one
Yep.
place to the other.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we like
we go
malls.
to Laura Park Mall sometime,
Yeah,
but there's like every other store is like closed.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of a separate, maybe slightly separate topic, but I kind of lament the death of a lot of malls because they're actually great accessible playgrounds.
Yeah.
Because they're so all in one that they really kind of, if you're in a wheelchair, driving is not always that easy, either to get a ride or even just doing it yourself is it's a much more involved process than, most people think. And so being able to go to a place where it's all in one is really very nice for people like Jesse and I. But, you know, um, those kind of places are quickly becoming kind of
They are.
obsolete.
We
So,
we have 2 malls here. We have the Lansing Mall and the Meridian Mall. Meridian
mhm.
Mall's in Okemos, and, the Meridian Mall is really transformed. It's got a place called High Caliber Karting and
Oh,
Entertainment.
cool.
I don't know if you guys have
That's
ever been there, but
exactly
it's
that that's exactly the kind of solution I feel like the malls need because
Yep,
for the last 5 years or so, I've been saying, the reason malls are dying is because 'cause they're not offering anything that you can't get on Amazon.
yep,
And so, in order for malls to stay relevant, they're gonna have to become places where the community can come together and do things that they can't just buy somewhere else.
yep,
Maybe
yep,
offering things like you said, like go-karting or maybe an indoor dog park or maybe more restaurants, more maybe like skills you can learn, like come and, I don't know, learn karate there or something. I don't know. But
yep,
like something you can do that you can't just buy on Amazon. Because, if it's a choice between, well, I'm gonna go buy a new shirt. It's like, well, do I want to drive and commute through traffic and do all this, or do I just want to order it? And
yep.
it's kind of like, so in order for them to survive, they're gonna have to do more of like what you were talking about.
Yeah, ours has High Caliber, and they actually in their go-kart, they have a accessible cart, so
Mm.
wheelchair users can race. They
Oh,
have
that's
a
cool.
They have, like, a lift, and they have, like, a garage kinda shed area where they have it, so people can go in there, and then they lift them up, and they put them into the cart, and then it's controlled up on the handles with the
Oh
the
wow,
brake
like hand
with the
controls.
brake
Yeah.
and the gas, yep.
Oh,
I don't know how many carts they have that are like that, but I'm 100% sure that they have at least one. They may have multiple.
I would
Um,
be curious to know if they built that custom or if there's a company that makes them.
I can ask Jordan. So we know the owners of the place pretty well. I can shoot him a text and ask
Yeah.
him.
'Cause I that would be something I'd love to spread awareness about, because that would be really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'll shoot Jordan a text once we're off here and see what he says on that. But
yeah,
yeah, super cool place. And then they have a launch trampoline park in
okay.
the mall as well. I don't know if you guys have launch over there. I think there are some in Metro
I
Detroit,
We had one in Briarwood Mall, which is in Ann
in
Arbor.
Ann Arbor. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, it has. It's helped a lot with those places. And now there's a
Yeah,
karting place in the Lansing Mall that's like a big, I think they have a bowling alley in there and they've got laser
that's good,
tag and
that's
they've
good.
they've had to come
They're
up with ways to like
they're
stay
doing
alive, right? I mean,
right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're doing what I was saying.
Yep.
And I mean, it's a little off topic, but, um, although it's not necessarily something Jesse and I do together, one thing I do like to do for fun is I do, power soccer
Okay.
with my, so I don't actually use my wheelchair, they call it a strike force chair,
Okay.
and it's a specialized chair that is just for power soccer, but it's super low to the ground. Has like a pretty long metal guard out, and it's very fast. It maneuvers really good, but it's kind of like being in a go-kart,
Okay.
but not quite a go-kart.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah,
I'm not
strike force chairs.
okay. I'm not familiar with that. I know that US Soccer does have a program, and I think it's called, I could be wrong. It's called like Top Soccer through US Soccer
Okay.
Association. And I think the Michigan State Youth Soccer Association um, has maybe leagues or tournaments, or I'm not exactly sure.
Mhm.
Um, a buddy that I used to play soccer with works for US Soccer now. And he was telling us about it probably 4 or 5 months ago, and we had a Zoom call with him. I think he still lives in New York City, but he introduced my wife Megan to the lady that's in charge of the whole program over the United States. I don't know
Wow.
if this is under that umbrella whatsoever, or if this is just something that's a local thing that you're able to do.
Yeah, oh, you're talking about the US soccer?
Yeah, I don't know if what you're doing is kind of under that umbrella or
We
not.
what we so For the longest time, the league I was in, it wasn't really even a league at all. For the last 3 years, it was just like a what would you call it? Like just a get together and just play soccer in a gym kind of thing.
Almost like a pickup type
But
of thing.
yeah, yeah, but starting last year, we actually started going around to other states and doing tournaments and stuff because you have to play in so many tournaments in order to qualify to be put in a league. So we
Okay.
weren't in a league until this year, and now we're going to be placed in a league this year. I don't know what it is yet, but we
Okay.
did really well in all of our tournaments, and
Cool.
um, so we will be placed in some type of league this year.
Cool.
Yeah.
So tell us where people can find the book, and
Oh yeah.
maybe a little bit. I know you don't have to dive super deep into it, but just the experience of learning the
Oh yeah.
Amazon, putting it on there, and how that all panned out for you.
Let me tell you, writing a book is an education. Um, yeah, right now you can find it on Amazon. That's the only place that is selling it right now. But we're in the middle of trying to, um, so the thing is, when you publish with Amazon KDP, it can be distributed elsewhere. So they are the primary distributor, but there are ways where you can distribute it other places, and it's not a problem. So, um, we are currently looking to like find a printer and print up our own copies as well. And we've had a few places approach us that want to start carrying it. Um, where Jesse got his service dog from, Paws, they want to actually carry it, um, as well as possibly some like local stores in our area might carry it. You can also get a copy if you come to our book signings. We sell them there.
Okay. Cool.
So.
Is there anything that we missed that you guys, either of you, want to share?
I did want to say one thing about Kevin Can, about some of the things in the book, how they're related to our experiences. So like Kevin is 10 years old, and the reason he's 10 years old is I was 10 years old when this happened to me. Um, Kevin is also featured on the school bus multiple times, and that's because Jesse and I met on the school bus. Jesse rides an, or I mean, Kevin rides an adaptive bike, and it's modeled after the one Jesse rides. So I told you how one of the things I like to do in my free time is I like to do power soccer. But one of the things Jesse likes to do in his free time, and he could tell you more about it, is he rides an adaptive bike, and he rides it a lot, like a lot. Like, but that's why Kevin is featured riding an adaptive bike, and so like there's lots of little things that Kevin does where he's kind of like the combination of both of us a little bit. Like neither one of us is named Kevin, but like he kind of it has some features like of both of us in a sense, you know. But yeah, tell them a little bit about what you do with your bike riding, Jess.
Yeah. So through Europe or this program in Ann Arbor, I learned that I was able to ride an adaptive bike, and at first I just needed like help getting in it, but now actually I can get in my own myself, and I have like shoes my feet would slip, so I have like clip-in shoes that stay like attached to the pedals, and I ride actually a couple miles with Trooper, and then I drop her off because I don't want to wear her out, and then I ride more by myself. I can go up to, I've rode like 30 miles before, but where I live now, there's not that much around here. So that was like before when I used to live close to the high school, and there was a lot more pavement around there. But I usually will ride like 15 miles. Actually, the whole month of September, I ride, there's this program called the Great Cycle Challenge, and it's like raising money to help kids cancer. So I pledge to ride like a certain amount of miles, and I ride just, and people like donate to my ride, and
Mm-hmm.
That's super cool.
yeah, thanks.
Yep. Yeah, and if we have time, we could also talk about the SJ5K, but that's also another charity that is
Yeah.
connected to Jesse. But yeah,
Yeah, Kevin shirt actually in the book as promoting it.
yeah, he wears an SJ5K shirt.
Okay.
And we have information about SJ5K in the back of the book.
Okay.
So but you wanted to know more about the Amazon.
Yeah, was that
So,
quite a process for you? I know, like I said,
so
I've done some of it, and
I'll tell you about it. So it's kind of a funny story. So our book really, the first time we had copies available that we could sell to people, was really around last November, and it wasn't on Amazon and it wasn't published. We just took our files to a printer and we're like, "Can you make us 100 copies of a book?" And they're like, "Sure." And so we paid for it. We printed 100 copies, and we sold them out in about 4 weeks or so. And we're like, okay, cool. And then we were debating on whether or not what we should do next. After that, we're like, should we put our money in and like buy more copies and do this again, or should we look for an actual publisher? And so, we were kind of like debating on what to do next. And around that time, I went out to this place by our house, local burger joint. And while I'm eating there, this guy comes up to me and he had seen me before and he's like, he overheard me talking about my book with my parents, and he comes up and he's like, why, he's like, I've seen you around before, you do you do your walks, like at the Target across the street. He's like, well, he's this real big muscular guy. He dresses like Batman. He does stuff for Make-A-Wish. And he's like, I do stuff for Make-A-Wish, and he's like, I really like the concept of your book you're talking about. And he's like, I have a friend that published my dad's books, and my dad was a Green Beret. Not my dad, this guy's dad.
Yeah.
He was in the Green Berets, and he wrote an autobiography, and I know this guy who published his book, and he's like, I could put you in contact with him. I'm like, oh, well, that'd be really cool. So he gives me this guy's contacts, and his name, the publisher's name is Yusuf, and so he gives me his contacts, and I I try to reach out to him, and it took several weeks before he responded back to us. But anyway, he ended up responding back to us, and then it was a whole long process before he did anything with our book and stuff, and eventually he published us for like 100 books, and then like we kept asking him, where's our book going to be available? Where is it? Because at the time it was only available on his website, which was like very hard to find. And
Yeah.
we're like, when, for like several months it was only on his website. And we're like, when is it going to be available on like Amazon and other places? And he's like, oh, it will be eventually. It will be eventually. And then eventually, like, he's like, you know what, guys? He's like, you guys really don't need me. He's like, actually, he's like, you guys could be doing Amazon KDP. And he's like, one of the reasons I didn't really want to go this route, put it on Amazon, is because if I did that, then Amazon would basically become the publisher instead of me, and I would have to publish it like under my name, and I'd basically be collecting like all of your profits and stuff. He's like, I don't really want to do that. So he's like, well, I'm going to teach you guys how to do Amazon KDP, and you'll get off my label, and you guys will be self-published through Amazon KDP. So he walked us through the whole process, how to do that, and um, we really, like, once he showed us how to do it, we did it in like an afternoon.
That's cool.
And so like we had help with that. So it was basically like a weird process. Like, he kind of didn't really help us very much, and then he showed us how to do that, and then that ended up kind of helping us quite a bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, you
so
got something out
yeah.
of that relationship, He
Oh yeah.
kind of
And he
went a
still,
different way, right? I mean,
yeah,
but
he still gives us advice on stuff from time to time, but like, like yeah, so it's kind of a weird situation, but the whole process of writing a book, we've learned a lot over this whole process. Before we even started writing it or anything, like, we did market research where like we created some polls on social media where we'd ask people questions like, would you be interested in buying a book that teaches kids about disabilities, or do you think this is an important topic? Like, so like we would create these polls and we would share them in social media and kind of like try to gauge people's responses, and we'd always get these really good responses. So then we went ahead with creating it, and we learned a lot, about writing, about marketing, about um, you know connections, about schools, about speaking, about just so many little aspects of things that we've learned over really the last really close to 2 years now that we've been working on this project.
yeah, that's super cool.
So
Well,
yeah,
awesome. I appreciate you guys jumping on with me and sharing your
absolutely.
story. Yeah.
We
So
appreciate
I'm
you
gonna,
having us.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.